Okay, so 10.2 is going to talk to us about our non-right triangles again, but this time we're going to use the law of cosines. This is what you use when the law of sines won't work. So if you can't make that ratio or that proportion, then you're going to use law of cosines. This typically is when you have side, 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 or side, angle, side, and the angles across from the side you're dealing with. Those are the two general examples. Sometimes it's easier, but typically the law of sines is faster, which is why people prefer to use that. These are all exactly the same equation. The biggest difference is, depending on what angle you're across from, which side you put by itself. So here, if you know theta, or that's the angle you're looking for, use this, but other than that, they're the same. So find the unknown sides and angles of this triangle. So we have side, angle, side. There's no way we can make a ratio. We have no side angle pair that works. That's what tells us we're doing law of cosines. And because first we need to find this angle before we can make a ratio, that's going to be the pair that we use. It's the only angle we know. So that's going to be our cosine, and that's going to be the side that's alone. So we start by writing b squared equals, because that's the side we're looking for. Then A and C are going to be these other sides. So we do a squared plus c squared minus 2 times a times c. Now, if they're labeled A, B, and C, it's really easy. If they're not, it doesn't matter as long as the B is the one that's alone. And then we put cosine 30. So we plugged those into the thing. We type them. Then we're going to type it right into the calculator, just like that. We're not going to make our lives harder. So 10 squared plus 12 squared minus 2, parentheses 10, parentheses 12, cosine 30. And we get b squared equals 36.15. And then to undo a squared, we do a square root. So the square root of 36.15 gives us 6.01. So that is the length of B. Now that we've found one of the sides, we can either keep going or we can revert to law of sines and say, hey, now I have one pair, so let's find this angle. Let's find this one. So we have, from the purple, we have sine 30 over 6.01, and that's going to equal sine of gamma over 12. So we cross multiply. 12 times sine 30 divided by 6.01 equals sine of gamma. Type that in the calculator. 12 sine 30 divided by 6.01 means the sine of gamma is 0.9983. To undo that, we do the second sine, and we get 86.7 degrees. And then we know a triangle adds up to 180. So 180 minus 86.7 minus 30 gives us 63.3. Now, if you had done this pair first, your numbers might be slightly off with our rounding, but I'll always have both possibilities, so don't worry about that if you do it in a different order. So you try the next one. So we have alpha equals 30, B equals 12, C equals 24. Find all the missing sides. So we're going to start with trying to find A. A squared equals 12 squared plus 24 squared minus 2 times 12 times 24 times cosine 30. If I do that, I get 221.17. And then I take the square root, I get 14.9. So now I have all the sides. Then I can pick a pair. So here's one. Let's do this one. So if I do sine of 30 over 14.9 equals sine of beta over 12. we would do 12 times sine 30 divided by 14.9 gives us sine beta. If I did that, sine beta equals 0.4027, telling us that beta is 23.7. And then we subtract the other two from 180 and get 126.3. So pretty straightforward, and then we revert back to sine. I'm going to show you why we revert back to sine. Because when you're looking for the angles, it's not harder, there's just more pieces. So if we know the three sides, and we're going to call this alpha, beta, gamma again. So let's say we're going to try to find alpha first. So if this is the pair we're going to find first, 20 is going to be alone. So 20 squared equals 18 squared plus 25 squared minus 2 times 18 times 25 times cosine alpha. So we're just plugging those signs in like we did before. Now, let's simplify that to get rid of the squareds and the parentheses. So 200 squared, or 20 squared is 400. 18 squared is 324. 25 squared is 625. And negative 2 times 25 times 18 is negative 900. I'm going to combine like terms. So 324 plus 625 is 949. Now I want to get the cosine alone. So I'm going to subtract 949 from both sides. And I get negative 549 equals negative 900 cosine x, or cosine alpha, sorry. Now we're going to divide by negative 900 because that's multiplication. That's the biggest part, is you always want to make sure you're dividing that part. So if we did that, we would get 0.61 equals cosine alpha. And to undo cosine, we do second cosine 0.61. So we get alpha equals 52.4 degrees. So that makes this 52.4. So again, it's not harder, it's just more steps and more different things to rearrange. So sine is typically simpler. We can do that again to find gamma and beta, or we can do sine, because now we have sine of 52.4 over 20 equals sine of beta over 25, and then we cross multiply just like we've been doing. 25 sine 52.4 divided by 20 equals sine beta. Oh, well, yes. The problem only asked for one, but I'm going to show you how to find all of them so you can do the next one. So 25 sine 52.4 divided by 20 is 0.9904. And then we're going to do second sine. So we get beta equals 82.05. And then 180 minus 52.4 minus 82.05 gives us 45.55. All right, so you try the last one on here. ABC, so 5, 7, 10, find the missing angles. Does not matter which one you start with, so I'm just going to start with this. So 5 squared equals 7 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 7 times 10 times cosine alpha. Get rid of my squareds and my parentheses. Combine like terms. Subtract 149 from both sides. Divide by negative 140. Do the inverse of cosine, and I get alpha equals 27.7 degrees. Now let's find beta. So we're going to say sine of 27.7 over 5 equals sine of beta over 7. So 7 times sine 27.7 over 5 equals sine beta. 0.6508 equals sine beta. Inverse sine gives us 40.6. Subtract both of those from 180 and we get 111.7 degrees. All right, we're going to skip that next example. And then for example 4, they give us a picture. Suppose a boat leaves port. Here's port. Travels 10 miles, turns 20 degrees east, and travels another 8 miles. How far is the boat? So we have a triangle. The only difference is they gave us this angle out here. So if a straight line is 180 degrees, if that's 20, this has to be 160. Now that we know it's 160, we're just trying to find that length of the triangle. It's across from the angle, so we would do x squared equals 8 squared plus 10 squared minus 2 times 8 times 10 cosine 160. If you type that all in the calculator, you get 314.35. Take the square root, you get 17.7 miles. So it's the same idea. I just wanted you to see an application of it in real life. And then here's how you find another way to find area. So if you don't know any angles, you can still find the area. You just need, it's what's called Heron's formula. First, you're going to find S, which is half of the perimeter. You add the 3 sides, divide by 2, and then plug it into that equation. This will also be on your test. So find the area of this triangle using Heron's formula. So the first thing we have to find is S. So we're going to add the 3 sides, divide by 2. So 7 plus 10 plus 15 is 32. 32 divided by 2 is 16, so S is 2. Now to find our area, we're just going to plug that in. So we do S, and then S minus S minus A, so it'd be 16 minus 10. And then we do S minus B, so 16 minus 15. And then we do S minus C, so 16 minus 7. And you can just do that right in the calculator. So big square root, 16 parentheses 16 minus 10, 16 minus 15, 16 minus 7, and we get an area of 29.4. So not too terrible, especially if you have the equation. So here's a you try. You go ahead and do it, and then check or watch. It's up to you. So if you make a triangle, we have 29.7, 42.3, 38.4. We're going to start by finding S. 42.3 plus 29.7 plus 38.4 divided by 2 is going to give me 55.2. Then I'm going to plug that in. So 55.2 times 55.2 minus A, 55.2 minus B. And because we're multiplying, the order doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you put it with A first and then B first and then C first. What really matters is that you just get them all. And then when you do that out, you have 552.3 feet squared. So let's look at a real life example here. Chicago city developer wants to construct a building that has artist lofts on a triangular lot. So it has this triangular lot. They want to know how big. So the frontage is how much they can build on the side of that street and that street and that street. How many square meters can they develop? So like, what's the floor plan there? So we're just going to do the same thing. That's all that's saying. First we find S. So 43.5 plus 62.4 plus 34.1 divided by 2 gives us 140 over 2, or 70. Then we find the area. So we do 70 and then 70 minus each of those sides. And when you type that in the calculator, you get 711.4 meters squared. So there's one more example here. So why don't you go ahead and pause the video, try that, and see how you do. All right, so A, 4.38, B, 3.79, C, 5.22. So first we're going to find S, add those three numbers up. And we get 13.39 divided by 2 is 6.695. And then area, 6.695 times 6.695 minus 3.79 times 6.695 minus 4.38 times 6.695 minus 5.22. Put that in the calculator, you get 8.1 feet squared. So that was what you needed to know from 10.2. Let me know if you have any questions.